వాణి వాణి తెలుగు వాణి
తెలుగువాణి యూరప్లోని తెలుగువారి గుండె గొంతుక.
So I will try my best to keep it to less than 5 minutes. But I'm here mainly to ask questions more than give answers. I was asked to speak on this occasion, which I gladly accepted, because it is something of a matter of pride to me that, after so many years of being here in the United Kingdom, for the first time we have had the opportunity of celebrating Ramanuja Jayanti. It is a matter of pride, not because I'm a follower of Sri Ramanuja, but it's a matter of pride because Sri Ramanuja represents something very poignant about India and about our heritage. Especially in a time like now where we are looking quite frantically for role models in our lives. It's easy to come here and tell you stories about his life, tell you what he stood for, what he did, what he did not do. All those things are somewhat irrelevant because these are things you can read on the internet. I mean, Google today can give you all this information in under half a second. But my point here is to tell you something about Sri Ramanuja's life that will help us paint a picture. Given my talent in painting, or the lack of it, I'm not going to do it as an actual painting, but a painting of words. And the message of his life, the message of his being, is very well encapsulated by this famous verse that almost all of us know about Swami Ramanuja, the verse that describes him to all of his disciples. Yo nityam achyuta padamja yuvarutma vyamohatah taditarani pranayamene asmadguror bhagavatosya dayikasiddho Ramanujasya charanam shakam prapati. The message of that verse is that I seek refuge at the feet of Swami Ramanuja. Why do I seek refuge at the feet of Swami Ramanuja? For 4 very interesting reasons. This verse, I should mention, is not a religious verse. It tells us 4 things about Ramanuja, each of which can be applied to our everyday lives, each of which tell us how to lead our day-to-day existence. The first thing that it tells us is he had a vision. He had a vision of uniting people under the umbrella of one metaphysical concept that linked, of course, in its deep background, it linked the universe, it linked God with the soul and all those things. But the amount of effort that he put into it during the course of his life is remarkable. If you read the story of Ramanuja's life, he was born deep in the south. But to bring together this concept of his metaphysics that he wanted to propound, he had to walk all the way to Kashmir at the age of around 40-45 with just one of his disciples. He walked across the length of our nation to read what is known as the Udayana Vritti all the way in Kashmir. He was allowed access to it for only around 2 to 3 days, and within that span of time he had to understand its message, internalize it, to an extent that he had to come back and write it all out as a big philosophy. Another instance comes to mind. Swami Ramanuja, at the age of 80, he founded this city in the depth of Karnataka. It was called Yadugiri. He called it Karnataka and founded a temple there. It occurred to him that the deity in the temple had been from the South Delhi at the age of 80, which obviously in those days was by foot and would have taken many months. He went to Delhi to bring this deity back all the way to Karnataka. And along the course of this journey that he made to Delhi and back is the second message that this verse tells us. Taritarani Pranayane. So Taritarani Pranayane means that he had nothing else in his focus. His only focus was to build his life around this concept of metaphysics that he wanted to bring together. He did not see differences between people, he did not see differences between their backgrounds, their upbringing, where they hailed from, how much they knew or anything else. Because when he was coming back from Delhi, of course the king there was quite happy for the deity to be brought back, but it so happened that his daughter was in love with this idol. Much like Mirabai who came on stage today, she thought of that idol as her friend. And once the idol was taken away, she went to her father and said, "Look, I cannot live without this idol. How can you let him take it away?" So the king sent his forces behind Father Ramanuja and he was a few of the disciples. And he had to take refuge somewhere along the way in some village of people who were in those days considered to be people of a different caste. He recognized the fact that there was this social disparity that was not in the long-term interest of the country and of the people who inhabited it. He coined this word, which is Tamil, it's called Tirkulada, which has, which roughly speaking means something like penitence, and he gave them access to the very highest of honors in temples and so on. So that was one of the very strong messages that anyone who talks about Ramanuja talks of him as a social reformer, but not many people understand the amount of effort and energy that went into it. The third message that verse gives us, it uses the word Asmat Guru. Asmat Guru literally means my guru. The children here said a lot about people respecting their teachers for what they are, the message they give them and so on, but it adds a very interesting adjective to the word guru. It says Asmat Guru. It's very different when someone says the word mother and when they say my mother. When they say my mother, it is an epithet of a lot of affection. It has a lot of personal connections with that particular person who happens to be their own mother. When it says Asmat Guru, it says he is my Acharya. Every person who had the benefit of living in the same period of Swami Ramanuja saw his immense grace. He gave everyone access to himself. There is one little story which you may not find in the typical internet website that tells you about Swami Ramanuja. Is around when he was 85, 90 years old, there was this dumb person, a person who could not speak, who used to sit outside his front every day. Nobody knew his name because nobody would ask him what his name was because he couldn't speak. And they would just ignore him. He would just sit outside. Mud people would pass by, they would give him food, treat him well or not, we don't know, but nobody knew who he was. Swami Ramanuja woke up one day and called him. Perhaps we don't know from the text exactly whether he was deaf and dumb as well, but it does look like that. He beckoned him without saying anything to him, beckoned him into a room, asked him to sit down, and one thing we should note at this point is that the disciples of Swami Ramanuja were equally illustrious. People in his group were at times even more brilliant than he was. There are several examples of that. But he chose this person who could neither speak nor hear and brought him into his room and said, "Sit down." And he did nothing else but to place his feet on his head and said that, "Look, you have no ability to ask for what you want. You have no ability in terms of educational qualifications, in terms of your background, or whatever one might generally consider as qualifications to be my disciple, but I give you something that I have not given anybody else. I give you my grace in its most boundless form." And that is the message he gave to all his disciples. have to say the word Asma Guru. We don't say somebody else is Guru, we don't say somebody else is Guru, we don't say anybody else is Guru, we say Asma Guru. The fourth message that verse gives us is Dayaika Sindho. Dayaika Sindho literally means an ocean of kindness. An ocean of kindness so much as to mix with even the most simple people. And I will close with this one final instance, which every time I think of it, it moves me to tears. In that Swami Ramanuja lived in this town of Srirangam, and he was one of the most senior people who were given honors in the temple every day. So every day when the puja happened in the temple, Swami Ramanuja was taken to the sanctum sanctorum and given the highest honors of the temple. So children in Srirangam used to observe this, and they used to play games like all of us did when we were young. The games that they played were basically to mimic what would happen in the temple. So they would get together in a street corner, make a deity of Lord Ramanuja out of mud. A couple of them would be the priests, a couple of them would be people who were devotees coming into the temple. They would make all the utensils out of mud, all the prasadams out of mud, and give it to each other. Now they have observed in the temple, their fathers, their grandfathers, when the puja happens, at the end of it, they beckon Swami Ramanuja to the sanctum sanctorum. They say, they would call Swami Ramanuja and give him the honors of the temple. So similar to that, his children would also do the same thing. They would say, can we have Swami Ramanuja to the sanctum sanctorum, which is actually just a street corner with everything made in mud. Swami Ramanuja passing by would not smile it off as a game that young children were playing. He would not smile it off as, these people don't know anything. When they called out to Swami Ramanuja, he would go to them, run to them with as much reverence, as much affection, and as much enthusiasm as he would to the actual sanctum sanctorum of Sri Lanka, and receive these prasadams, which are just balls of mud, with an equal amount of satisfaction and happiness. That exemplifies the resistance. That exemplifies the word Dayaika Sindho, and that is the message. If we don't take anything away from this evening, I would like that we remember Swami Ramanuja as this person who ran to the street corner to take prasadams from his little children who made balls of mud for him. Nothing greater than that. That is the kind of role model we need to carry in our minds every day. If we have a mix of this academic brilliance, a mix of his knowledge, his vision for the entire fabric of culture that we have today, along with his humility, along with his ability to mix with people across the spectrum, and if we try to emulate that message in our day-to-day lives, I think we should consider ourselves a success. In 5 years from now, in 2017, we are going to celebrate the 1000th year of Swami Ramanuja's birth. We should look forward to that day, just like over the last 5 years we've been looking forward to the Olympics now. We should look forward to Swami Ramanuja's 1000th year and come together again like today in much larger numbers and celebrate his greatness and remember his message that he left for us. Thank you very much.